A 42-year-old man enters Judge Caprio's courtroom to answer for a traffic violation. He's been cited, he knows what he did, and now it's time to face the outcome. But before Judge Caprio can even announce the fine, this man does something shockingly arrogant. He declares that he's not going to pay a single cent. His mind is already made up. The judge hasn't even given a ruling. Yet the defendant has decided his own verdict. I pay taxes, that's enough. I'm not paying this. Judge Frank Caprio pauses, taken aback. Did this man really just tell a judge that he refuses to pay a fine that hasn't even been issued? Did he just imply that paying taxes frees him from obeying the law? What follows is the complete downfall of a man who has already lost too much. His marriage, his relationship with his children, and now, his last chance for leniency in court. Subscribe now, because 97% of viewers still haven't joined Judge Stories, and this case is the perfect reminder that gambling addicts, who blame everyone but themselves, end up facing the consequences they've earned. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how it all unfolds. 87 miles per hour in a 55 zone. A man turns a simple fine into a crushing penalty, all because he couldn't stop arguing long enough to hear what the judge was actually saying. Here's the question. Why do some people fight battles they're destined to lose, just to avoid admitting they were wrong? You're about to find out. Thursday morning, 11:20 a.m., Providence Municipal Court. The bailiff calls Marcus Thompson. Reckless driving, excessive speed. A man in his early 40s steps forward, wearing jeans, a hoodie, and a baseball cap. His body language says it all. He doesn't want to be here, and he's not pretending otherwise. Hands in his pockets, a slight slouch, and an expression that screams this is a waste of his time. Judge Caprio looks up. Mr. Thompson, good morning. Please remove your hat in the courtroom. Marcus slowly takes off his cap, making it obvious he thinks the rule is unnecessary. Mr. Thompson, the judge continues, you're cited for reckless driving on Route 95. The officer recorded your speed at 87 miles per hour in a 55 zone. That's 32 miles over the limit. Can you tell me, I'm not paying this fine, what happened? Marcus shrugs. I was driving. I was going with traffic. That's what happened. His tone is dismissive from the start. Neither defensive nor apologetic, just dismissive. Judge Caprio looks over the citation. According to the officer's report, you were weaving between lanes and tailgating other vehicles. Is that accurate? I was trying to get somewhere. Everyone drives like that on 95. Mr. Thompson, not everyone goes 32 miles over the speed limit while cutting through traffic. Look, Your Honor, I don't know what you want me to say. I was speeding, fine, whatever. But I'm not paying some ridiculous fine just because the state wants money. Caprio raises his eyebrows. Excuse me? I said I'm not paying. I already pay enough in taxes. The city gets plenty from me. I'm not paying this ticket. The courtroom falls silent. The prosecutor glances up from her notes, surprised. The bailiff shifts slightly, prepared in case this escalates. Judge Caprio speaks very carefully. Judge Caprio. Mr. Thompson, I haven't issued a fine yet. I haven't even made a ruling. So why are you already saying you won't pay? Mr. Thompson, because I know how this goes. You'll probably slap me with some $200 or $300 fine for driving. I'm telling you right now, I'm not paying it. Judge Caprio. Mr. Thompson, let me explain how this actually works. I ask questions, review the evidence, and then make a fair decision. Judge Caprio pulls up Marcus's driving record on his screen. His expression tightens as he reads it. Judge Caprio. Mr. Thompson, this is your 4th speeding violation in 3 years. You also have 2 prior citations for reckless driving and 2 unpaid fines that are currently in collections. Is that accurate? Mr. Thompson shifts uneasily. I don't really keep track of every ticket. Judge Caprio. You don't keep track. Mr. Thompson, you currently owe the city $800 in unpaid fines. Mr. Thompson. Like I said, I'm not paying those either. Judge Caprio leans forward, voice steady but firm. Judge Caprio, Mr. Thompson, help me understand something. You're 42 years old. You've repeatedly driven recklessly. You owe significant unpaid fines. And now you're standing here refusing to pay another one. What exactly is your plan? Mr. Thompson, my plan is simple. Not to give the city any more of my money. Judge Caprio. Do you have a job, Mr. Thompson? Mr. Thompson. Yeah, I do construction. When I can find work. 4 prior violations, $800 unpaid. So, employment is inconsistent. Times are difficult. Your Honor, not everyone has a steady paycheck. Judge Caprio studies more of the file. Mr. Thompson, according to the court records, you went through a divorce 2 years ago. Is that correct? Marcus's expression tightens. What does that have to do with a speeding ticket? I'm trying to understand your financial situation and behavioral pattern, the judge replies. The divorce records are public. They state that your ex-wife mentioned gambling addiction as one of the main reasons for the separation. Is that true? That's personal business, Marcus says defensively. It became court business when it was entered into the divorce proceedings, Mr. Thompson. The judge continues. The records also show you have 2 children, ages 9 and 12. Do you pay child support? Marcus's jaw tightens again. When I can. When you can, Judge Caprio repeats. So you have unstable employment, a gambling problem, unpaid child support, and now multiple unpaid traffic fines. And you're saying the system is the problem. The system is the problem. Marcus snaps. I'm just trying to survive, but everyone wants money I don't have. Mr. Thompson, Judge Caprio says firmly, you were driving 87 miles per hour, weaving through traffic. That's not survival. That's reckless endangerment. The system is corrupt. I was just trying to get to a job site. At 87 miles per hour, what kind of job is worth risking your life and everyone else's on the highway? Marcus doesn't have a good answer. Judge Caprio continues. Mr. Thompson, I'll ask you directly. Do you have a gambling problem? That's none of your business. It is my business, the judge replies calmly. When I'm trying to understand why a 42-year-old man with children has wrecked his marriage, can't pay his bills, owes this court $800, and is standing here refusing to pay a fine I haven't even set yet. Marcus's face turns red. You don't know anything about my life. Then tell me, Judge Caprio responds, why should I believe you'll pay this fine when you haven't paid any of the others? Because I'm telling you I'm not going to pay it. How's that for honesty? Judge Caprio's tone shifts from patient to firm. Mr. Thompson, being honest about ignoring the law isn't something to brag about. I follow the law. I pay my taxes. That should be enough. Paying taxes doesn't exempt anyone from obeying traffic laws, Mr. Thompson. Everyone pays taxes. That doesn't give you permission to drive recklessly. Recklessly? I was keeping up with traffic. You were driving 32 miles over the speed limit. While weaving between lanes, the judge reminds him. The officer's report is clear. The officer probably had a quota to fill. Judge Caprio's tone hardens. Mr. Thompson, now you're insulting the very officers who are simply doing their jobs. I'm just saying what everyone knows, Marcus replies. Cops have quotas. They stop people just to make money for the city. That's not true, and you know it, Judge Caprio responds firmly. Officers enforce traffic laws to keep people safe. Marcus lets out a mocking laugh. Keep people safe? That's why they hide on the roadside, waiting to catch someone going 5 miles over. You weren't going 5 miles over, Mr. Thompson. Judge Caprio says. You were driving 32 miles over the limit. Whatever, Marcus mutters. The whole system is corrupt, and I'm done pretending it's not. The courtroom falls completely silent. Everyone senses this situation heading toward disaster, except Marcus, who either doesn't see it or simply doesn't care. Judge Caprio rises from his seat. Mr. Thompson, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Marcus crosses his arms, defiance written all over his posture. You walked into this courtroom today facing a reckless driving citation that normally carries a fine of $350. $350 becomes $550, plus a possible license suspension. Was reviewing your case, Judge Caprio begins calmly. Considering your circumstances and whether to reduce the fine or arrange a payment plan. I don't want a payment plan, Marcus interrupts. I'm not finished. Mr. Thompson, don't interrupt me. The sharp tone freezes Marcus mid-sentence. I was inclined toward leniency because it's clear you're struggling. A divorce, gambling issues, unstable employment, and children you can't consistently support. These are serious problems that deserve understanding. For the first time, Marcus looks faintly hopeful. However, the judge continues, your conduct in this courtroom has been disrespectful, defiant, and confrontational. You've insulted police officers and questioned the integrity of this court. Judge Caprio sits back, his expression still firm. Mr. Thompson, here's my ruling. The fine for reckless driving at excessive speed is $350. Marcus starts to speak again, but the judge raises a hand to stop him. However, because of your attitude in this courtroom, your unwillingness to accept responsibility, your insults toward law enforcement, and your stated refusal to follow court orders, I'm imposing additional penalties. Marcus's face turns pale. Judge Caprio, I'm adding a $200 penalty for contempt of court. Your total fine is now $550, Marcus. What? That's outrageous, Judge Caprio. I'm not finished. You already owe $800 in unpaid fines. Since you've shown no intent to pay, I'm referring your case to the district attorney for criminal non-payment proceedings. Marcus, you can't do that. Judge Caprio, I absolutely can, Mr. Thompson, and I will. Furthermore, your driver's license is suspended immediately for 90 days. Marcus, you're suspending my license? How am I supposed to get to work? Judge Caprio, you should have considered that before driving recklessly and standing here refusing to accept responsibility. Marcus, angrily, this system is rigged. Judge Caprio, firmly, Mr. Thompson, you will not use that language in this courtroom. Marcus, I'll say whatever I want. This is America. Judge Caprio, bailiff, if Mr. Thompson continues to disrupt these proceedings, remove him from the courtroom. The bailiff steps forward. Marcus realizes he's gone too far. Judge Caprio, Mr. Thompson, let me make something very clear. You entered this courtroom with a $350 fine. With just 1 hour of humility, if you had shown even a bit of respect, you could have left this courtroom with a reduced fine and a manageable payment plan. Instead, your attitude just cost you an additional $200, 90 days without a license, and a criminal referral. Marcus trembles, a mix of anger and fear in his voice. Your Honor, how am I supposed to pay $550? I told you I don't have that kind of money. Judge Caprio replies firmly, the same way everyone else does, and you work, you make payments, and you take responsibility. Marcus blurts out, but I have a gambling problem. I can't control it. Judge Caprio's tone stays cool but serious. Mr. Thompson, gambling addiction is a real issue and it deserves treatment, but it does not excuse reckless driving. It doesn't excuse failing to support your children. And it certainly doesn't excuse disrespecting this court. Marcus tries again, desperation creeping into his voice. Please, Your Honor. I have 2 kids. They need me. Judge Caprio's face remains unchanged. Mr. Thompson, don't use your children as leverage. If you truly cared about them, you would have thought about them before you gambled away your marriage, before you drove recklessly, before you ignored your child support, and before you walked into this courtroom with arrogance and disrespect. I do care about them, Marcus insists. Then prove it. Judge Caprio says calmly. Get help for your gambling addiction. Pay your fines. Fulfill your child support obligations. Follow the law. Show your children what responsibility looks like. That's how you start being the father they need. Marcus lowers his head. How can I do any of that without a license? Marcus sat there looking defeated. How am I supposed to get anywhere without money? He asked. Judge Caprio leaned back slightly. The same way millions of people who've made mistakes manage to do it, he replied calmly. You take the bus, you get rides, you walk, you find a way. Because the alternative is much worse, Marcus frowned. Worse than this? Judge Caprio leaned forward, his tone firm but controlled. Jail, Mr. Thompson. If you keep refusing to pay your fines, if you drive while your license is suspended, if you continue acting like the law doesn't apply to you, you will end up in jail. Is that really what you want, Marcus? The judge shakes his head, showing genuine concern this time. Here's what you're going to do, he says firmly. You'll leave this courtroom and immediately reach out to a gambling addiction treatment program. The court clerk will hand you a list of available resources. I can't afford treatment, Marcus mutters. Many programs are free or based on a sliding scale, the judge replies. You'll find one and commit to it. Then you'll arrange a payment plan for your $550 fine, plus the $800 you already owe. That's a total of $350. Marcus looks crushed by the figure. You'll pay $50 each month. The judge continues. It'll take over 2 years to clear, but you'll make every single payment. No excuses. If you miss one, the district attorney will proceed with prosecution. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus answers quietly. The judge's tone softens but remains firm. Mr. Thompson, let me be perfectly clear. Your gambling addiction is real and it's tearing your life apart. Your marriage is over. Your connection with your children is broken. You're financially unstable, standing in court owing more than you can handle. Tears stream down Marcus's face as the weight of his situation finally sinks in. Then a man in the gallery speaks gently. "Brother, I was once where you are. I lost my wife, my house, and I was drowning in debt. I blamed everyone, and the casinos, the government, my ex-wife, blamed everyone but myself." Marcus keeps his head down, unable to meet his eyes. "But you know what?" The man continues quietly. "I finally realized that gambling was my choice. Every single bet was mine to make. Every loss, every lie I told, they were my choices. And until I accepted that, nothing changed. I kept losing, kept blaming, and kept destroying everything around me." "How did you stop?" Marcus asked softly. "I got help, real help," I replied. "Treatment, Gamblers Anonymous therapy, and I paid back every single dollar I owed. It took me 4 years, but I did it. My kids talk to me again now. My life isn't perfect, but it's mine again." He sits back down, and Judge Caprio nods approvingly. "Mr. Thompson," the judge says, "you just heard from someone who understands exactly what you're going through. The question now is whether you'll keep blaming the system or finally take responsibility and change." "I want to change, Your Honor." "Then prove it," Judge Caprio responds firmly. "Get treatment. Pay your debts. Follow the law. Show your children that their father can rise above addiction and become someone they can be proud of. Where are you watching from? Comment your city if you believe addiction can explain behavior, but never excuse it." Judge Caprio continues, "Mr. Thompson, you're 42 years old. You're still young enough to rebuild, but you're running out of time. Every year you spend gambling is a year lost with your children. Every dollar you waste is a dollar you could have used to support them or pay your debts." "I know, Your Honor," Mr. Thompson says quietly. "I know." "Then stop thinking and start acting, because the next judge may not be this patient. If you end up in court again for reckless driving or unpaid fines, the next stop could be jail. Is that what you want for your children? To see their father behind bars?" "No, Your Honor." "Then seek help today, not tomorrow. The support you need exists. Use it." Judge Caprio picks up his gavel. "Total fine, $550, outstanding debt, $800, total owed. Ladies and gentlemen, addiction is real. It destroys families, finances, and futures. That man needs help, and I truly hope he finds it. But addiction does not excuse reckless behavior. It does not excuse ignoring child support. And it certainly does not excuse standing in a courtroom, insulting officers and declaring you won't follow the law. I've given him both consequences and a path forward. Treatment, a payment plan, and time to rebuild, but he must choose to take it. No one can force him to recover. He has to want it for himself and for his children." Subscribe to Judge Stories for more. Moments where personal responsibility meets reality, where excuses fail, and accountability begins. Marcus Thompson entered this courtroom defiant and arrogant. He left with $550 in new fines, 90 days without a license, and the painful realization that his gambling addiction has cost him far more than money. Judge Frank Caprio once again proved that compassion has limits and that those who insult justice while avoiding accountability end up facing exactly what they deserve. This is what happens when addiction turns from an explanation into an excuse, when blame replaces responsibility, and when someone's own words turn a manageable mistake into a full-blown disaster.